The difference between tasting and drinking is thinking. Bonjour, my name is David DeVere. I'm a wine educator and traveler, and you're watching Savvy Nomad TV, the Eau de Vie edition. Now, thinking about wine and tasting wine, those two things will teach you about wine. You need good notes, and you need to have some sort of format to put those notes in. I've developed this tasting card after over a decade of teaching people how to taste wine, and I've bound it in this tiny little notebook called the Notes de Vin. Let me explain how to use this tasting card, which is absolutely free, or how you can get your own copy of the Notes de Vin. Okay, let's get started. Learning about wine is not impossible to do, and you certainly can do it by yourself or with your friends. You do not need to go to some formal education, but some sort of pathway that will help you get corralled, get your mind in the right spot. That is necessary. And that's where this tasting card comes in. It's simply fill in the spots, connect the dots. It's that simple. There is a link in the description to this tasting card. It's absolutely free. You can download it and use it however you want. There you go. I mean, it is copyrighted. Please don't steal my work and post it someplace else. But it's free for you to use, and it is available on the internet. There you go. My gift to you and the rest of the world. Now, if you want to elevate that a little bit further, I suggest the Notes de Vin notebook. This is a wine tasting notebook, a journal. It's 5x7, fits in your pocket. Can you see that? Fits nicely in my pocket, so I can take it wherever I want to go. I'm going to slip this into my backpack, and whenever I travel, I'm going to take wine notes because that's how I learn and remember. And it's fun because this is a little hobby. Now let me explain how this journal works. First of all, this is a print-on-demand journal. It's available from Amazon. You buy one, I make $2. $9.99, that's what it costs for Amazon to print it, distribute it, make their cut. They give me $2. There you go. I'm not making a killing off of this thing. I really made it because I wanted one. So there you go. That's the wine journal. But let me explain a few things about it, and then I'll go into detail about the card. Okay, first page, QR code, zap that with your phone camera. It'll take you to the free PDF of the tasting card. Second page, another QR code, zap that. It's going to take you to a YouTube video on how to get the label off the bottle. It's not always successful, but it's, you know, if you do it right, maybe 60% successful. But that turns this into a wine scrapbooking tasting card. I know, so delightfully interesting. Next page, flavor profile. I'll go into that. And then you've got 47 blank tasting cards in the journal. At the very end, as an index, I put in 100 of the most commonly found wines, although some of these are rare. These are the most commonly found wine varieties. If you don't know what you're looking at the liquor store, you can go, you can look this up, and you can see where it's from and whether it's rare or common. If you buy that, you can create a scorecard here to start checking off your list. My bucket list of 100 wine varieties is done. And then you can also note the page that it is referenced on. So you're building your little index of wine varieties in this book as you're using it. Okay, that's the book, available now, $9.99. Let me explain how to use the tasting card. It's not hard, but it's a little tricky. Okay, let's get into that. I'm going to take you to the tasting card in zoomed up detail in just a second. But before I do, I want to note this large blank area on the card. It has two purposes. The first purpose is what you do when you assess a wine. You look at it. You can look at it over the white blankness of the tasting card. Oh, I know. It's so interesting. You look at it, it should look beautiful. And then that will help you circle, underline, draw a square, whatever you want on one of these inherent colors. I've put all the colors in here so you can kind of start to learn so that when you see a wine, you see a pale green wine, you pick it up and you smell it and you go, oh, grapefruit, Sauvignon Blanc from California. Do that every day. That's what that's for. After you're done with the bottle and you want to save the label because the label art is cool, you can stick the label into that spot. So that's what those big white square is for on the tasting card. Now, let's get in how you score the wine and how you use the flavor profile. Okay, looking at the card, you can see the big white space, and if we move down, you've got the scoring area and you've got the range of scores. If you score 0 to 5 points, the wine is considered poor or objectionable. If you score 19 to 21, it's extraordinary. There are 5 categories: appearance, bouquet, taste, finish, impression. And they're each weighted either 0 to 3 or 0 to 6. And that's because the bouquet and the taste are really the two things that are the most important, but it's not the only things that make up the score of the wine. Appearance, obviously, it should look nice. Bouquet is all of the aromas taken together. Should there be more than one aroma, you should give it a good score. If there's only one aroma, maybe a lower end of that 6. And if there's no aromas or if it smells weird or bad, then a 0. Taste is essentially everything on the bottom of the flavor profiler, the stuff below the line. That's the sweetness, the acidity, the tannin, the alcohol, the body, the balance, the complexity, and the finish. All of those taken together are the taste. This isn't your preference. It's not of whether you like the wine or not. It's if the wine is well made and made in the style that it's intended to be made in. If it is, a good score. If it isn't, a bad score. Finish, pretty simple. Does it have a nice long finish? If it does, then give it a good score. But if it's got a funky finish, a metallic finish, a moldy finish, don't give it a good score. And then impression, this is your preference. Do you like it? Did it make a good impression on you or not? That's it. That's how you score the wine. Okay, so the right-hand page of the tasting note or the right-hand side of the tasting card, depending on what you're using, is pretty self-explanatory. You've got producer, vintage, and tasting date. Then you've got region and sub-region. For example, the wine could be from France, and maybe it's made in Burgundy. Or if it's from Burgundy, you could put Burgundy in the region, and then you could put Chablis as the sub-region. You would have to know, but it should note that on the bottle. Variety or varieties, so what types of grapes are used, the price you paid, what the blend is. For example, if it's a Côte de Rhône, it could be a Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre blend, and it would probably say on the back of the bottle what that percentage is, what that blend percentage is. And then what is it aged in? It could be aged in an oak barrel, but for how long, maybe they say. Maybe that's on the back. And then your score, that's taken from the left-hand side of the page, or it's taken from the left-hand side of the tasting card, and then the alcohol percentage. So that's interesting to note too, because sometimes those higher alcohol wines have different characteristics than the lower alcohol wines. One of the things that comes to mind in that is like sweetness. A low alcohol wine will be sweeter than a higher alcohol wine, and maybe you wanted a sweet wine, and so you wouldn't want to buy one that's 14.5% because it's not going to be sweet. Okay, let's move on to the flavor profiler.
Now the flavor profiler is here to make a shape. It's going to make a shape of that wine or that specific grape variety. It's pretty easy to use. You have the words low, slight, noticeable, pronounced, and intense. Intense is the furthest out, and the low is the furthest in, meaning the smallest amount. Intense, the biggest amount, furthest out from the circle. So I want you to start where it says citrus and work your way around berries, orchard fruits, etc. And I've drawn little illustrations there so you can kind of get a hint at what the flavors are that you're supposed to notice. If you notice intense citrus, like in the previously talked about Chablis, then you would put a dot way at the outside. If you don't notice it, put the dot way on the inside. Pretty simple. Work your way to the below the line, go through sweetness, acidity, tannin, alcohol, preference, body, balance, complexity, and finish, and then connect the dots. Once you've connected the dots, fill in the shape with hash marks, slashes, whatever you want, be creative, and you will have a shape. That's the shape of this particular grape variety and the way that the producer made the wine. That is really interesting. As you start to fill out the journal, fill out your tasting cards, you will see more and more shapes. And then you'll start to recognize wines based on their flavor profile.
And learning about and teaching yourself about wine really is that easy. Fill out the blanks, connect the dots, draw the shape. There you go. You've taught yourself about that grape variety and that producer. It really is that simple. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you have, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you'd like a bound version of this book, there's a link in the description to the Amazon page where you can buy it, $9.99. I hope you do, and if you do, I hope you enjoy it, and please give me a good review. If you don't want to buy the book, that's fine too. Follow the link in the description to download the tasting card and start your journey. In fact, if you've got some friends coming over for a wine tasting party, why don't you download a bunch of these and then use them for that party? There you go. I mean, come on. It's the world's too crazy to be nuts about this. Let's all have a little bit of relaxation and enjoy the time we have together. If you're here in December of 2023 and you have one of these Costco wine advent boxes, I'm going to be using this card and this box and doing 24 episodes in December. If you're here, why don't you join me? Okay, until next time, I say à tout à l'heure and cheers.